Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys this morning about West Virginia. I know when I pulled up the chart and I was showing you guys all my win totals, I usually go in order. But for whatever reason, I have decided to go out of order. Here they are in order. I've done Colorado, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Boston College, Cal, Clemson, Duke, Florida State, and Georgia Tech. You guys see it there. And those are all the different bets. Remember, the key is over here. Green's a lock, black's a lean. Red means I changed it after I made the video, and then you've got all the other colors, right? Purple is a value bet. Take a stab at it. Careful. Here's your unit size. Once again, bet with caution. But when we look at West Virginia, I'm going all the way down here, and I actually think it's a lean. But you notice I put 2 units on a lean. I put 2 units on a lean, and it's a minus 122, and it says 6.5 wins. I believe they're getting more than 6.5 wins. I really like West Virginia. And I know the spring transfer portal is coming, and you guys don't study this like I do, but last season in the spring transfer portal, West Virginia started winning. And what I equated that to was maybe they got a bigger donation after like tax returns or something. Maybe they got a bigger donation and they were able to win in the spring transfer portal. And that's great news for them because it looked pretty grim initially. I thought, man, they're going to fire Neil Brown. We now know no one's firing Neil Brown. He's a good coach. They have a good pedigree of football and they won a ton of games. They literally really impressed me last year, if there's any way to put it. And it was about their recruiting and their development of players. And I'm going to show it to you guys right now when we talk about it. But remember, I have them over 6.5 wins. So let's go talk about this over 6.5 being minus 122. When you come in here and you look, this is last year's schedule, 2023. They managed to beat Duquesne, no big deal. It's important that they beat Duquesne, though. You'll see why in a second. But they were actually fairly competitive with Penn State, 38-15. Probably outclassed and outgunned at every skill position and in the trenches, beating Pitt in the backyard brawl, beating Texas Tech, beating TCU. It was at this point I knew they were real. They were better than the average team in the Big 12 because I don't think they are. I think they're above average. But then they go out and lose to Houston. And this is the type of thing that happens, and it frustrates you because they shouldn't be losing these games. Losing Oklahoma State, apparently that's what's supposed to happen. Oklahoma State was in the conference title game. Beating the newcomers, no big deal. Losing to Oklahoma, it happens. And then finishing strong and beating more of the average teams in the Big 12. So they can just beat the average team in the Big 12. They proved it all last season. One freak loss here and then dominating North Carolina without Drake May. Right? At the end of the day, they go 9-4. Now, that would be the over because they only have to win. This was 8 wins in the regular season. And they're saying they're at 6.5 going into next year. I don't know why they're reducing it. Obviously, the schedule. Obviously, what you're looking at here. When you see that first game against Penn State, no one has them winning that game. I think they'll be competitive. It's at home. It's a rivalry game to some extent, right? You're fighting for some of the top recruits in the same area. But then you got Albany, and then you're at Pitt in the backyard brawl again. This time you have Kansas, though. This time you have Kansas, and Kansas looks really good this upcoming season. Shout out to Jalen Daniels, Devin Neal. Kansas looks poised to be very good. But I can see them getting 2 wins here in September. Then you get into October, and I'm telling you, they only need 1 win. And I hope it's Iowa State. It feels like it should be Iowa State. I also like it against K-State. I like the way they match up with K-State. I like these 2 games in the middle of the month. They're not outgunned anywhere, but we can see what happens in the middle of the month. Now, they only need 1 win. I feel like they're walking right through September or November. They're walking right through every one of these teams. That's 4 wins in a row. And you guys might be high on UCF. You might be high on Texas Tech. This is being played in Jerry Jones Stadium, Jerry's World. But you're tripping if you don't think they can duplicate what they did last year. Because West Virginia, talent-wise, will be better than last year. Let me make that very clear. They're going to be better. It's just the reality of development and continuity within the program. Unless they lose players in the spring transfer portal. And I'm talking about pivotal players. So let's talk about it. Their starting quarterback is Garrett Green. He figured out that he's going to be the starting quarterback. The team figured it out. And yes, he still struggles with passing the ball. But takes care of the football. We're talking about a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That's elite, guys. Anything over 3 is impressive. 4-to-1 is elite. 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I really like it. But Garrett Green is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks around. 772 yards rushing. It's not a game. People just don't think about him as a dual threat quarterback because he's white. But I promise you, he's fast. He's good. Him and Haynes King are 2 of the best damn white dual threat quarterbacks I've ever seen. They're great. 700 yards rushing, 13 touchdowns. Guys, 13 touchdowns? That's Ollie Gordon. That's some other stuff. Like, that's a running back's touchdown total. Chase McClellan does not have 13 rushing touchdowns. There are your favorite running backs don't have 13 rushing touchdowns. I promise you. If I went and looked up the stats, this man has 13. In the red zone, Garrett Green is him. And then you have C.J. Donaldson Jr., the starting running back for the team at the beginning of the year. The starting running back for the team at the beginning of the year, and he's a converted tight end. So he's a big boy. He can move the chains. He runs well. He's great to watch, and we're always betting on him for anytime touchdown. But that guy at the top, Jaheim White, you see it there, 109 carries and 842 yards. Jaheim White, they discovered him as the season went on, and they realized this is our best running back. We need to make him the starter. He's dynamic. He's explosive. He's an NFL caliber running back, and he's a freshman. And it's remarkable what this team discovered in their freshman class because everybody thought Rodney Gallagher was going to be the star of the freshman class. Rodney Gallagher is a quarterback, wide receiver, running back, whatever you want to call it. He's an do-it-all athlete. And he came with all kinds of hoopla, all the 4 stars and all this stuff that they talked about. Rodney Gallagher, and he's not a bad player. He's a freshman. I think he's got a bright future. But the guys that broke out and proved that they can play at this FBS level, Jaheim White is one of them ones. And yes, only 4 touchdowns. You get to the red zone, they're giving it to these other 2 dudes. But Jaheim White is a beast. And all 3 of these guys are back. We're talking about 700, or damn near 800. That's incredible. The amount of production in their running game is coming back. Now, I think Justin Johnson Jr. here is going to hit the transfer portal after spring. It's just my feeling. I think he leaves. He got passed in the depth chart by Jaheim White. 2 years ago, he had 400 yards rushing. I think Justin Johnson really doesn't have a place on this team anymore. It's the reality. Everybody else is inconsequential. Don't worry about it. When you look at receiving, Devin Carter transferring in from NC State. He just went to the NFL draft. He was their deep threat, but they don't really throw it all that much. You see it down here. They didn't throw it that much, and when they did, though, they got big chunks because their play action is real. You bite on their play action all day, or Garrett Green's going to extend the play, and someone's going to get open because he can run. So they're a different type of passing offense. They're a run-first team. But Devin Carter was a mismatch nightmare. They don't have that anymore. They do, though. I'll explain it in the transfer portal. Hudson Clement is a local kid, former walk-on, got his scholarship after having one huge game against Duquesne. Just dominated them for, I think, almost 300 yards. I'm not joking. It's something insane like that. But this was an all-state kid, and they gave him a preferred walk-on, and then they gave him a scholarship after, was it Duquesne? Yeah, Duquesne, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 receptions. So he got his scholarship right after that. And he's been good. He's a spark plug. He's not a bad kid. He's young. Shout out to Martinsburg, Tyson Bagans High School. Good players. I studied that whole high school. They won a bunch of state titles in a row. What I want to tell you, though, is the receiver core isn't that great. Cole Taylor is good. Cole Taylor's 6'7" at tight end. He's a transfer from LSU. And he shows up and he gets 35 receptions. He's a first down waiting to happen. The best player that no one talks about here is Traylon Ray. Traylon Ray is a true freshman, and he didn't enroll early, so he wanted to play baseball at his high school. So he finished high school like everybody else, normal. And then he showed up to campus a little late in the fall like everybody else late spring, early summer. He shows up. And Traylon Ray has a learning curve. He's got to get with the program. He's welcome to college football. It takes him a little while. But everybody, like I said, everybody was on this Rodney Gallagher kid, and he's good. The guy who stole the show late in the season is Traylon Ray. And I think I think he's going to be the leading receiver this year. Him and Jaden Bray. Now, don't let me forget about Jaden Bray. That's a whole other story. Oklahoma State transfer. One of the best receivers at Oklahoma State, second best receiver, just transferred in to West Virginia to take the place of Devin Carter. So that's a whole other thing here. So offensively, they look to be, the trajectory is insane. These guys are going to score points like crazy. I kid you not, I'm looking for them to score 30 points a game. West Virginia. It's going to happen. They're just going to be mean and score. Now, defensively, you lose Lee Pagoba here. Lee Kogaba. I can't say his last name, bro. I just can't pronounce certain names. I apologize. But Lee was a leader on the defense, 97 tackles. He's a transfer from Syracuse. Just declared for the NFL draft. Another guy they're losing is Beanie Bishop. He's my number one corner in the NFL draft. You heard me right. He's my number one corner in the NFL draft. I know everybody's talking about a kid from Toledo, and they're like, Rico, it's Senior Bowl practices and all the mock drafts. I don't give a flying flip what anybody has to say. I watch tape. I know players. Beanie Bishop is an NFL corner. I love his tape, and he's my number one corner in the draft. Just so you're aware. By the way, 20 passes deflected. That's superhuman. 4 interceptions last year. But you see Anthony Wilson there in second place. He's coming back for another year. Anthony Wilson is a safety who transferred in the spring transfer portal cycle. And he was the best safety at Georgia Southern. And he transferred in. He wanted to prove his NFL pedigree. And he shows up, and he's second on the team in tackles. Anthony Wilson's a good player. So Anthony Wilson being there, that's a beast. Ben Cutter and Anthony Wilson, really, are the reason you're going to see so many corners and safeties and linebackers in the transfer portal. They just cut everybody on the depth chart. Ben Cutter's a freshman, bro. A freshman from Denver, North Carolina. That's right, Denver, North Carolina. Ben Cutter showed up, and he's just he's a good old-fashioned linebacker. He just looks like he should be playing linebacker. It's impressive. Aubrey Banks will be coming back. Next year. He's a good player. Malachi Ruffin will be back. They only lost a few guys. You see Tommy Wadurje here in the rotation. He left to Florida State, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, you lost a superstar to Florida State. Not necessarily. You lost a future star, but he wasn't a superstar. He wasn't one of the leaders on the defense. He's just a good player. I like the kid. He's a good prospect. So, yeah, like Ben Cutter a lot. This is your linebacker I'm talking about. I think he'll be a star on the defense, and he's the reason a lot of linebackers hit the portal. Aubrey Banks will finally get back into the starting lineup and be one of those guys. It wasn't that he wasn't starting. He'll just get more reps. Traylon Ray's a stud, like I told you. Jaheim White, future star. And they gave him no love coming out of high school because he was only 5'7". Don't believe the hype. Right? You don't have the right metrics. They don't believe in you. He's doing the damn thing. And now Penn State probably got to feel dumb for missing out on a kid like that. C.J. Donaldson here, or at least Pitt, because he's from PA. So one of the two. Garrett Green, complete stud. And let's talk about the transfer portal. So when you look at the transfers leaving, not too many transfers of significance to me. You see Tommy Wadurje going to Florida State. It's a big deal. But the rest of these kids, if you look, it's a linebacker, safety, linebacker, corner, linebacker, safety. It's linebackers and safeties that got passed on the depth chart by freshmen or transfers. That's what it is. It is what it is, right? So all those guys leaving doesn't really concern me at all. When you look at what they're bringing in, they just got Jaheim Joseph. They're missing somebody. Yeah, see, so they got Garnett Hollis here from Northwestern. 2 teammates from Northwestern just came over. If you didn't know, Northwestern, Jaheim Joseph, and Garnett here, they're both in the 2 deep at Northwestern. They were on the field. They were nickel corners or the off corner. They weren't the best corner. The best corner, Hurd, he just went to Notre Dame. So Northwestern losing 2 of their better corners to West Virginia tells me they're shoring up the secondary, which is awesome, okay, because they did just lose the best corner to me, Beanie Bishop going to the NFL draft. But the other thing that they brought in Reed, another linebacker from Ohio State. Couldn't start at Ohio State, but that's a really good prospect. and Ironton is very close to West Virginia. TJ Crandall doesn't move me as a safety coming over from Colorado State. I think he's in the rotation, not a bona fide starter by any means. Was not impressed with his tape. Jaden Bray, a complete stud, leaving Norman, Oklahoma, coming in 6'3", 190. Once again, Devin Carter type mismatches here. And then you have Aiden Garnes, complete stud, coming from Duquesne. They just played against him last year. They know how good he is. He's very good. But the cream of the crop for me is Ty French. Ty French will be in that starting lineup. I don't care what anyone says. Ty French is NFL. This is Colquitt County, straight out of Georgia. Ty French is an FCS All-American. 4 years he's first team All-Conference. 4 years since he's a freshman. School record in sacks for Gardner-Webb. This guy is great. Over 30 sacks in his career. Transferring in, this is a grown man, okay? A grown man coming in for his final year. Shout out to West Virginia. You found a stud among studs. I love Ty French as a transfer. I like Aiden Garnes. I like the 2 corners coming in, or 2 defensive backs coming in from Northwestern. It just looks like they're addressing all their needs, and they look stout. You might be concerned about defensive tackle. I'm not, but you might be. Other than that, man, West Virginia is loaded on offense, and they're loaded in the secondary and linebacker core. I really like West Virginia as a team. So once again, I think West Virginia is better than Albany, Pitt, Iowa State. That's 3 wins, and they get those 4 wins at the end of the month, at the end of the season. You're going to be sweating it out every week. I know. I won't be sweating because they might get another win in here. They might beat Kansas. They might beat Kansas State or Oklahoma State, and we won't be sweating at all, because it's only 6.5 wins. I believe in them getting 7 wins. Where's the chart? I apologize. I just want to pull it up so I can show you guys once again. I believe in the over for West Virginia. It's 7 wins. They got to clean house in November, or they got to go on a run. I think it'll happen. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Good luck, y'all. Careful. 2 units. It's a lean, but I believe in it. Peace.